I think we're live. I hit the wrong button. I apologize. Listen, this Badgers team is really potentially good, and people need to start dealing with that. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Really excited to be here with you. We are bringing in Rajiv. We are talking a Badgers win over USC, a comfortable, dominant Badgers win over USC. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. From the whistles to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. It's over at FanDuel.com to get started. Rajiv, let's talk about it. We always start with good, mid, ugly. There's a lot of good on this one. I'm going to kick it to you first.
Yeah, I mean, John Blackwell is just the dude. I mean, it's like, I feel like there's just a recurring theme about these shows. We get to the good, we're talking about John Blackwell because he deserves it. He's just silky smooth all the time. He knows exactly when to take over the game, when to calm down, when to pass it. His confidence and his ability to drive and dish or score. I mean, the dude is incredible. I mean, he's absolutely incredible all up and down the way. He had 28 points tonight, 28 points on 10 of 16 shooting, super efficient, 6 of 7 from the line. He even got 5 rebounds. I mean, yeah, man, it's really, really good to see. I'm going to give you another one. I know I have more of these, but I'm going to give you one more because Klesmit needs a little attention. And I think Klesmit had a great game today. I've been saying early on in the games, he needs to get in there and get a quick bucket. He did that today. He got in the lane. I don't know if it was like a turnaround or something. He scored very early on, and that gave him the confidence. Sometimes he shot a little too much. A couple of his shots were a little off, but hey, like the guy, he shot the ball well. I think overall he scored 18 points, 2 of 9 from 3, but 7 of 14 from the field. There were a lot of times where he drove and had a quick fadeaway. He ultimately, with him, it's confidence. And if we get that kind of confident Max Klesmit back, and hopefully a non-0 point John Tonje, I think we could definitely have a lot of good things happening. I got more too, but I'll turn it over to you. I think Blackwell and Klesmit really, really had some good games today. And we're not going to talk about Klesmit enough because of the season he's had so far, but really nice performance.
Yeah, I'll hit on both those quickly. Blackwell is the one that got it started, right? This team was not clicking on all cylinders, and Blackwell scored. His versatility in scoring is what really sticks out to me. His first shot was a corner, kind of a side pocket 3 against coverage. Very next play, he drives baseline, gets a tough layup. Very next play, he hits another wing 3 against coverage. Like, his ability to score all over the court is what's most impressive. In transition, on post-ups, on offensive rebounds, off a cut, corner threes, handling the ball, off ball. He's kind of the whole package there, and I think he'd showcase that tonight. On Klesmit, I was going to put this up later, but since you already talked about it, 5 of 5 inside the arc today. Yep. Like, that's really important for him. We've talked about it before. Get it going. He still takes some shots where you're like, bruh, even on a day where it's cooking, I don't think you need that look in that moment. But this is the reason that we keep playing Max Klesmit, because he's going to go off. He's going to have these games where, in absence of other players, he's going to carry you. The first good thing I wrote down is I kind of think showing that you can win on the road and getting nothing from John Tonje, winning comfortably, now I'm going to hit on Tonje in a second, but overall, that showcases the depth of this team. It showcases that there's a lot of places this team can go to score. Not a lot of teams are going to go on the road as an underdog and win a game against a solid team without their leading scorer scoring a bucket, Rajiv. I think that's a big positive.
It's massive. Any win in this conference on the road is good. Any win on the road in this conference. I don't care if it's bottom of the barrel or the top of the league. It doesn't matter. And yeah, I mean, I wrote that down too. John Tonje scoring 0 and we're still dominating. We still have a fairly comfortable win. And that just shows how deep the team is, which is great. I mean, listen, 7 games in a row now. 7 in a row. We went from 0-2 in conference to now 5-2 in conference. We're going to UCLA. I'm going to be there, going to UCLA on Monday. I couldn't go today, but I am going to be going to UCLA on Monday. So that's going to be our Tuesday. That's going to be really exciting. Yeah, man. I mean, look, we will talk about Tonje, but that's just how many players are on this team. And another good that I'm going to give you is Winter and Crowl, 9 of 11 from the field today. I just wish they would have shot more. I think we should have gone to the post a bit more than we did. But those guys, Winter had a bad game. He kind of came back, playing with more confidence. Again, good awareness down low, really good like block play. Both of them did. I mean, Crowl he's had multiple games in a row now that he's been pretty much ever since he got called out by Gard. He's had good games. almost every single one of them. And when he's playing with that much more confidence, he gets the ball in the block. Even against a double team, he's still looking to score or looking to pass. I wish they would have gone more to him, which we'll get into when we get to the mid and the bad. But 9 of 11 from the field for those two guys. We continue to be incredibly efficient on the offensive side.
Yeah, and so Gunny, just agreeing with you. Wish we went to the bigs a little bit more today. That's a good comment from Selt. Let me just get into my mid, because Nolan Winter is actually one of my mids, and I'll tell you why. He needs to be more aggressive. He just does. Like, he is so good. There was a point in the game, it was in the second half, and USC was tightening it up, and he had 3 shots. And there was a couple possessions where he had a one-on-one opportunity. I remember one specifically on the left wing. He had a one-on-one against a slower big. He kind of gave him the fake spin, what Steve Smith in the NBA used to do all the time. He had him. Bro, you're too good. I mean, Nolan Winter, you are too good to have 3 shots at that point in the second half. I love a little more aggressiveness. He was crashing the glass. He kept a couple possessions alive. That 3 ball he hit, that first one, kind of in secondary transition, is so fluid. His shot looks so fluid right now. My mid is only he's not doing it enough. Like, Crowl is great. This is what we need of Crowl. 9 points, efficient. He played hard. That's what we're asking for Crowl. Winter has another level, and I think he needs to realize it a little bit more.
I think that'll come with more time. I mean, this is basically the first, like, obviously last year he was kind of whatever he was. This year he's been improving throughout the season. I think that will continue to evolve. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you for the most part. I wouldn't really I don't really put that on too much. I think that, we were playing well. We were playing well overall. There's a lot of people involved in the offense. I agree he needs to be more aggressive, but I think that comes with age. As he progresses through this year and into next year, I think that'll get better.
Give me one of your mids then.
So for me, it's overall defense was kind of a mid for me. I think the first half we played great defense. I mean, really nice, walling guys up, really smart defense too. We didn't foul. What was that guy? Number 1, I forgot his name. Not St. Thomas, but the other guy. Their other best player.
Claude. That's been Claude.
Yeah, Claude. Yeah, we didn't get him in foul trouble early. We didn't foul him and put him on the line, which was good. But the second half, I mean, once again, I think it's going mid for defense, because pretty much the first half was good. The second half got better later, but the beginning of the second half, once again, I feel like the effort went away. I put something on Twitter at halftime, and I said, effort equals defense for this team, because you can literally see defensive results are better when we look like we actually care and we're trying a little harder. Now, I know that a high-powered offense sometimes slows down defense. You've talked about that before. I totally get that, and I agree with it. But it looks like our intensity literally went into the tank in the beginning of the second half, defensively especially. We weren't closing out on threes. We weren't really walling up defenders. We weren't shutting off driving lanes. It just looked like they could do whatever they wanted, whereas they weren't able to do that early in the first half. So overall, for me, defense was mid. Now, we stopped a team that scored 99 against Iowa, but Iowa gives up 300 points a game, so it doesn't matter. But, I mean, it has gotten better, and I think it will continue to get better, but these second half starts cannot happen like that over and over, because we're not going to be able to come back and win some of those games.
Yeah, I knew this would be a talking point, and I hear you. You can't allow another team going on a 13-0 run a game after allowing Ohio State to also come back. However, I do want to just point out to people, at this level of basketball, there's going to be runs. Like, you're not going to go up on the road against a team by 15, a good team. Like, USC has legit scores, and then they're going to go on a run. Now, 13-0 run, I think you can debate, what does a run actually mean? Like, what is realistic? But you're not going to win the first half by 15 and then win the second half by 15 is my point.
Yeah, and I'll dovetail this in with one of my bad things, which is not calling a timeout earlier in that run. I don't know. There were 3 different times I expected Gard to call a timeout, and he didn't, and he just kept on playing, and then they kept on scoring another 3. Oh, no, we missed it again. Score another 3. Oh, we turned the ball over. Score another one. I'm like, hold on, because you notice as soon as that timeout was called, that run was over, and it was over for the rest of the game. That was the last time we saw anything like that. They had a couple mini runs here and there, but there was really no threat once we kind of called that timeout and stopped things up. That needs to change. I thought that was really bad. I wrote that down immediately. I just don't understand why that timeout took so long, because I agree with you. Runs are going to happen, but sometimes you got to stop those runs. You got to make a quick change. But if the defensive intensity would have been a little bit better early on in the second half, it's almost like we kind of come out sleepwalking a little bit because we're up by a lot. I don't know why that is, but it's happened twice now. So it's becoming a bit of a trend, and it needs to not happen again, at least in the next game. But But yeah, I think not calling a timeout to me was one of the bad things I saw. I don't understand that at all. I'm actually really surprised that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know that, certainly that run, and I had the same thought of just when is Gard going to call this? I think it should have been sooner. I agree with you. I also think there's very much an element of Greg Gard knows this is a veteran team, and I'm going to let them play through this a little bit. Did he wait too long? Probably. But if you go back to the Ohio State game, those timeouts at the end were a big deal. Like having those couple extra timeouts when we had trouble inbounding the ball, when Ohio State was really at that very end of that game, having that extra timeout in your back pocket allowed you to take a timeout, which gave you the ability to get out of a turnover. I think Greg Gard just said, this is a veteran team. You guys have played a ton of ball. Get out of this. And I can respect that to some degree. I do think it took a little too long. So I overall agree with you, but I can understand what he was thinking. Play through it. We're gonna get better and learn from this. And I want that timeout in my back pocket if this tightens up too much.
Yeah.
But I agree with you overall too.
The only bad that I had was, and it's kind of a mid to bad, is the rebounding. Again, we did out rebound them 27-25, but again, I just feel like there are times where our guys are kind of caught ball watching instead of actually finding a guy to block out. I don't really know. Like there are times when it looks really good and there's times when it doesn't look good at all. And it's very confusing to me why we're not a little bit better, because one thing that you hear commentary talk about every game is our veteran team. We've got a veteran team. This team is full of people that have played a lot of basketball. Well, ball watching when the ball's in the air, not putting a body on someone is not indicative of the experienced team that we have. I'm going to continue to put this in the bad list until I feel like we're getting better at, because truthfully, I think it is something that Gard needs to fix, and the veteran players need to fix it because they know better than that. It's just weird to me that this team struggles with blocking out, and there's so many critical points of a game where we give up a bad offensive rebound that doesn't need to be given up. I understand sometimes long offensive rebounds are going to happen, but those ones near the basket where if you just block the guy out that's racing to the hoop, by the way, you don't have to give it up.
Can I tell you those things probably aren't going to change in the middle of a year? Because these veteran players have habits, and habits are like rivers, and they're hard to change course. I'm just telling you right now, like there's NBA players who don't box out. They like if you don't build that habit at a certain point, mid-season, you're not going to.
Well, what I would push back with is that I think I have seen him do it okay at certain times. Like the first half of Ohio State, I felt like they were blocking everybody out. So I'm not 100% on board with it won't happen, because I just feel like they have done it. They just need to do it more consistently. And when they show that effort defensively, it works and we play better. When they show the effort on the rebounding, it works and we play better. So I think it's more of just consistent effort, just from my perspective. I think it's a fair point you bring up, but I do think that this is something that can get better because I've seen it.
I think you've seen it in spurts, but the great players do it consistently. And that's my point. Like they're not great rebounders. And I think you can make that point through Crowell's entire career. I think you can make that point through a lot of these guys. They're just, I hear you. Like it's one of those things where like, well, just box out more. But then in the game, if a guy hasn't done it consistently over the course of 4 years in Madison, it's not going to happen in the middle of a year, probably. Whether we can agree that shouldn't be or should be, but the chances of it suddenly flipping in the middle of a guy like Steven Crowell's middle of his senior season, it's probably not likely, unfortunately. And you got to take the good with the bad with this team. All right, we got to take a quick break. Obviously, much more good in this game than not. But coming up, we got to talk about John Tonje and what's going on with one of the key players of this team. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is incredible. Like, it is the ultimate spot. If you need to do daily fantasy, PrizePicks is the place to go for all your daily fantasy needs. It's fast. It's easy. They have injury insurance. So if you lose a guy, like a lot of fantasy leagues, you're suddenly not torpedoed. I'm pulling back on my Navy lineage there. You can keep going because they have injury insurance. PrizePicks is a real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups are protected. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. You're just picking more or less on multiple categories. Download the app today. Use code LOCKDOWNCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKDOWNCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineups. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, let's get back into this. Let's talk to Rajiv. We got to talk about John Tonje and what's going on there. Rajiv, I'll kick it to you to start. Thoughts on Tonje? 0 points today, 0 of 3 shooting. And I thought almost more telling at the end of the game when USC did make a couple of those mini runs, he wasn't in those lineups where Wisconsin was going to have to hit free throws.
You know, I almost feel like mentally he just wasn't in it today. There were times where you saw him trying to probe, trying to find ways to break down the defense, to dribble, penetrate. He took a couple steps. He realized that he was being well defended, and he just stopped. And I think there are a couple times where that's right. That's a good decision. But then later in the second half, I felt like he wasn't even really trying. Like he took one step and he's like, oh, okay, that guy's there. No, just go get around him. Like find ways to make it or even make space to create a passing lane potentially. And he just wasn't doing that. I really don't understand it. I think he just had an off game. And I know that he's had a couple bit of rough performances, but the second half at Ohio State was good. He obviously came on there. He just missed some shots today. I think he's one of those guys that he needs to see the shot go in early, similar to a Klesmit. He's got to get his rhythm going. He tends to get his rhythm going at the foul line most often, and he didn't get early calls. And I think he almost kind of just threw in the towel. He saw that the other guys seemed to have it, and I was really surprised that he didn't just take a little more opportunity in the second half to be aggressive, to try to get around his defender, to take him one-on-one. But he wasn't. He was like, nope, I can't do that. I'm going to pass it. Nope, I can't do that. I'm going to pass it. I don't know why he did that as much as he did. I'm just going to chalk it up to mentally he wasn't there today. He didn't score early. It affected him. The team was doing well enough without his production. So he's like, okay, I'll come back for the next one. I don't have a better... When I watch that game, I'm thinking that's the only thing that I really see from him. I think he's still a really great player, but he just needs to see the bucket. You see the ball go in the bucket early, and that I think will help him out.
Yeah, and Badger and Bournemouth kind of right there with you. I don't get any bad vibes from this game. Road game, West Coast. Tonje was just off or sick today. You know, they shot him on the bench towards the end of the game, and he looked a little out of it. And I'm not trying to make any guesses or estimates there, but it could be he's just a little wasn't fully feeling it. Two things on Tonje, and I want your take on the first one. I think there's an element of it that's actually a little impressive, that you're the leading scorer on a team. You've been talked about all year. He didn't force anything. I think there's players we've seen in the past. Listen, AJ Storr, I'll just throw it out there. Even Max Klesmit in certain slumps this year, not feeling it, just continue to shoot, continue to jack up shots. I do respect that part of it. Now he's got to find a way to make more of an impact, because you can't have one of your starting wings, one of your leading scorers, score 0 points on the road and get away with it very often. Like, you have to make more of an impact. But I respect the fact that he didn't force the issue.
I think that is a really good point, and I hadn't really thought about that. And you're exactly right. Like, he wasn't trying that. I mean, he was trying, but you're right. He wasn't forcing anything. He was going to just accept the fact that he wasn't going to have a good day. He wasn't really going to score a lot, and that's okay. And he could have done silly things. I don't know. Did he turn the ball over today? I feel like that. I have it right here. He did turn the ball over twice, which was one of the other issues that he was having. He just didn't have it today. And look, we are lucky that we've got a team that you can do this with, that we've got guys like Blackwell, and we've got Crowl and Winter, and we've got Kamari McGee that just comes out of nowhere and makes buckets. Even after he hits the side of the backboard, he can come back at the same shot from the corner. And I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, we're in a very good situation. A lot of teams, when their leading scorer has 0 points and has a bad game, they lose. We just won a road game in the Big Ten with Tonje having 0 points. So I think we're okay. He'll come back. We'll very quickly be able to see at UCLA that we're home against, I think, Nebraska. I mean, if this continues, then it's a pattern. If all of a sudden he could drop 25 at UCLA on Tuesday night, and we're like, yeah, he's fine, and I think that's probably what we're going to end up seeing.
Here's the one thing I would have liked to have seen, and this is me just kind of putting on my amateur coach hat, right? People know that I coach a little bit, nowhere near like what real coaches have done. Like, so I'm not, but I'm watching USC has a lot of wing athletes that are kind of longer, tougher to get around. That's tough on Tonje, because that's kind of his game. USC is able to match up on the perimeter that way. Tonje the last several years of career has been really good in the post. And that makes sense. He's physical. He has really good patience and footwork near the rim. He's tough down there. We've seen it. He draws fouls. I would have liked to have seen them try to get him some look a little closer to the rim. Instead of, you need to drive by people to get your buckets, let's run some type of isolation. There's a lot of post-swing isolation stuff you can run to set somebody up in the post. I would have liked to have seen the coaching staff, okay, let's find a different way to get you going. Let's put you in the post and let you go to work. Because those are young defenders USC has. And what does Tonje have? Tonje has the ultimate OMG game, old man game. He'll pump fake him, pump fake. I would just have liked to have seen them try to get him going in a different way.
Yeah, I saw you put that comment in the Discord, and I agreed with it then, and I agree with you now. I think that he, and also USC's bigs were in foul trouble. A lot of their guys were in foul trouble. That's another reason to get him on the block, because ultimately, he wants to get to the block to make something happen, get fouled. We'll just put him on the block and give him the ball there and let's see what he can do. He's very athletic. He's obviously very nimble and very creative with the ball down under the hoop. So that's exactly right. I mean, especially if you get a mismatch on him down there, why not take a chance, right? And yeah, I mean, hopefully they make that change because he definitely needs, like Klesmit, like a lot of guys on the team, needs to get going early and then things can really take off from there. I mean, heck, JB got going very early, and had he missed a couple of his first shots, who knows how his game would have gone. But because we all know basketball's a game of confidence, being in the zone, runs, how you feel, like it's all feel. And when you get those guys that they seem like the bucket just looks massive. And for Tonje, nothing was going to go down tonight.
I'm going to ask you. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to ask you ceiling on this team. We got a couple questions. What is the revised ceiling on this team? Are we talking maybe
believe with Rajiv's coming right out, buddy.
we are definitely talking about that next. Plus player of the game, although I think we both know who we were going to go with there. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show, and then we'll come back with what is our revised ceiling on this team. Today's episode brought to you by our incredible friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is our partner for a reason. The official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, the official sportsbook of the NFL. Parlays, teasers, spreads, whatever type of action you want, plus whatever type of sporting event you want. Rajiv, like, I don't know where your action is going lately. Now, most of college football is over with. I know you're very into this kind of stuff. What are you looking at going forward here?
College basketball is one of my favorite things to bet on, actually. To the line, it was interesting today. It actually said to kind of bet USC. Wisconsin was a 1.5 dog, which is strange. We're on the road. We are obviously a ranked team. So it almost like baited you to bet into Wisconsin, and the better bet would have been USC. But hey, Vegas lost a little money today. That's fine with me.
Absolutely love it. And right now, go over to FanDuel. Great action. Obviously, last college football playoff game coming up, but there's still NFL playoffs, NBA, college basketball. It's all going on. Right now, visit FanDuel.com to get started. $5 bet gets you $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this season unforgettable. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we're coming back. We're talking ceiling on this team. In the chat, let us know, what is your revised ceiling on this team? Rajiv, I'm going to start. I think it's an Elite 8 type ceiling. I don't think it's a Final Four type ceiling. I just feel like there's a few too many holes at the point guard spot that can get exploited by really long athletic teams on the perimeter. I think on the inside, we've seen it. We still have rebounding issues. Against bigger, more physical bigs, we're still going to struggle somewhat. And this team is still pretty three-point reliant, where I like the volume. We didn't shoot great today, but we kept shooting, which this team has to do. But I think it could be like an Elite 8 run, which would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and we kind of go back and forth sometimes on what ceiling really is. And for me, ceiling is everything's going well and you're doing everything, you're doing the best you can. To me, it's absolutely a Final Four ceiling. There's no way it's not a Final Four ceiling because it's one game difference. And you know what? That Elite 8 game could be against a freaking 12 seed for all we know. Sometimes you just never know. So yeah, I look at it, is this team capable of having a deep tourney run? And the answer to me is yes, they are, because they are senior-laden team, veteran leadership, a lot of guys. And we know that plays well in the tournament. Everybody can shoot the three. Okay, that's obviously can play well in the tournament. I mean, we'll look at how we shot against Iowa. Not to say that, again, Iowa gives up a bajillion points. But we can have a 60% shooting day at any point in the tournament. That can get us over the hump. It's all about matchups. It's all about who's going on. Obviously, yeah, if we go up against a Michigan, guys that have, massive superior bigs that they're super physical, yeah, we're going to struggle. But are we capable of having a Final Four team? Absolutely. Because everybody can shoot and everybody can do that. And you got elite athletes in Blackwell and Tonje. Those are elite athletes, elite scorers, and bigs that have a ton of experience. I think the one issue you've got is rebounding and defense. Certainly, that's a problem, and that could make us eliminated in the second round of the tournament, for all we know. But I do think the ceiling represents it's Final Four to me, clear as day. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think this team has the capability to make it happen. And I want to put one comment up here before we move on to something else. Michael Wagner says, Ryan with a new background looks beast. This dude built that thing right behind you. It's his office. He did all the work for it. It's amazing. That place looks incredible. Screen up in the corner. Very cool.
Thank you, Michael. I got tired of the one person telling me, Ryan, Rajiv's background is so much better than yours. What are you doing with your life? That's the voice that I read that comment.
Yeah, the voice you have is pretty funny.
Right. No, but it's been definitely a work in progress for sure. I do want to throw this up there based on Rajiv's ceiling, which I don't fully disagree with. I hear you. If you can get to the Elite Eight, why can't you shoot your way into the Final Four? But I think this is apropos for
Badgers winning a national title? Absolutely. Going on Final Four runs? Why not? It's Believe with Rajiv on today's Locked On Badgers.
No, it's great though, right? Like it's great to be this excited about the basketball team. It's great to be this stoked about it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. So we talked about ceiling, but let me ask you what your reasonable expectation is for this team. And for me, it's Sweet 16. I think this is that season where Gard needs to make it to the Sweet 16. We are most likely going to be a Sweet 16 seed, which means we're top 4 seed. I'm not saying we're going to be for sure, but it looks like we're going to have a pretty good shot at that. I think you got to make the Sweet 16 this year. I'm not saying it's there or he gets fired. I'm just saying that's the expectation that I have for this team based on our ability to score at the clip that we do and play defense as well as we can when we want to.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I want to hit this comment here and then answer yours. Bryce says McGee is an elite athlete. Some of his rebounds are ridiculous. I was actually typing around in the game watching it, and I had this thought: if McGee was 6'7", he'd get 15 rebounds a game. He's incredible. Like his aggressiveness and his leaping ability for his size. Yeah, I think so. I'll say this: I don't want to put Sweet 16 on it. I just think it's so hard to do. It's matchup dependent, as you mentioned. You're playing really good teams. They have to win a game. I know that sounds silly, like okay, obviously, but it hasn't happened in a minute. They have to. They cannot be one and done this March. I think if you win a game and then you lose a tough round of 32 game, I think people will be like, okay, like that's disappointing based on what we're seeing right now. But that happens in the round of 32. You run into a tough team, a tough matchup. You just don't shoot well one game, which, by the way, for this team is going to be more important than ever for Wisconsin because this team is so dependent on their volume perimeter shooting. But you cannot go 0-1 in March. So to me, you got to get to that round of 32. And then I'm like, okay, let's make more. But I'm like, okay, at least we can breathe about this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The expectation has to be to win a game for sure. I just feel like this team sets up well to be a Sweet 16 team. Like it is my sort of, if you ask me to predict, okay, where are we going to end the season? I would say we're going to end the season in the Sweet 16. We're not going to get to the Elite Eight, but we are going to get to the Sweet 16. That's my sort of official prediction, if you will. I don't think we're going to the Final Four, and I would be very happy with a Sweet 16 run. I think that's a big step for Greg Gard in this program. It shows that the improvements we made in coaching and in the offensive scheme that we're running and the players we brought in the transfer portal, it would be a really good win for this team if we could get to the Sweet 16. That is my prediction. You're right about expectation. Definitely win a game. If we lose in the round of 32, you're right, it's matchup dependent, but that's where I think we're going to end up. Just based on, again, you're right. Who are we going to play? That's a big deal. But based on what we're seeing, I feel like that's really a realistic place for us to be.
I'm going to throw a couple of kind of one-liners out here, just notes I took. Do you take any one of these that you want to expand on, or if you have anything else too? And then we haven't got much comments up, so I definitely want to hit some comments. A couple one-liners I had. Xavier Amos took a step back. Like it felt like he was trending up a little bit. Rough today, in my opinion. Like you can't be out there offensively with the way he played today. And then
first half, I thought he was actually okay. Second half, he just disappeared.
And he had that rush shot in the paint, and then like you could tell he doesn't fully know when he should shoot or not at times. Because then after that rough shot in the paint, it got swung to him on an open perimeter shot, and he should have shot that one, and he didn't. The other one, Kamari McGee, 29 minutes. We talked about it literally last game. You can't play Kamari McGee 16 minutes. He's too good. 29 minutes today. This team is better when Kamari McGee's playing 25 plus. Period. He has to play that many minutes. He's too impactful, man.
Yeah, I mean, every time he gets, other than that shot against the off the side of the backboard, which was a yikes moment for him, everything else he does is really good. He's very poised out there too. And we constantly talk about how we don't have a point guard. Well, we do have a point guard. His name's Kamari McGee, and he's not a starter, but he basically is with the starter. He gets starter minutes, and he's our point guard. I mean, so I'm perfectly okay with the guard situation that we have right now.
I want to get a couple comments, but any last thoughts that you had on this?
What I just really want, the other thing that I just wrote down is like, I know that I was even upset about the taking the punch early in the second half from USC and that run they had. I just think that we have to always take a step back and put in perspective that this is a road game in the conference, and it's a place that it's a team we've never really played before. It's a place we've never played before, and I think that it's like we're going to come back and we're going to look at these games and we're going to realize that even the Ohio State game, like this makes us better, makes us stronger. Someone put in the Discord that, we can't let what happened. We would have learned from the Ohio State game, and we did. Oh, we did for the most part. We did let them back in the game, but we did take over again. And I think that this team is growing. That's growth that you're seeing in front of our eyes. And I think that's what's going to make this team better in March. Our league is extremely difficult. It has been for years now. It's even more difficult with adding in the West Coast schools, Oregon, of course. So I think it really sets us up for tournament runs, and you're going to have games like this. We are going to get better from this, but any game you win in this conference on the road is a huge, huge win. I mean, the classic thing is if you just take care of your business at home, win even a third of your games on the road, you're in the tournament easily. Well, if you win some of these other games on the road and you can take care of your business at home, you really have a chance to not only get to the tournament and be a high seed, but that's the recipe for winning the Big Ten championship. Now, I'm not saying we're there. We are in the hunt, and we are going to be in the hunt as long as we can remain, taking care of business at home and getting these big ones on the road. That's how you win the conference too. The conference probably wins with 15 wins this year. So, we're on our way.
Yeah, I love that. That's really well said. With the road challenge and the road environments and how easy it is to drop road games. And this is a game the Badgers, again, even with that run, they controlled this game from start to stop. Like, even when USC made it a little tight in the second half, Wisconsin led for 98% of this game. I mean, they dominated this game on the road without their leading scorer. I think it's incredibly impressive. Pedro said, any thoughts on Carter Gilmore passing today? He found some really good looks. Here's the thing. Carter Gilmore is a really good passer. In the preseason, I put out a tweet about this, about how underrated he is. As he's a really good passer. And now that he can shoot a little bit, he's a really nice rotational piece. We talked about it a bunch. I want to throw this comment up here if I can find it quick, Rajiv, and get your thoughts as well. I lost it. Well, I'll just talk about it. I forget, and I apologize. A couple people have said this though. Oh, here's one. Chris Wood. If he keeps up this pace, John Blackwell will be gone. Thoughts on Blackwell playing himself out of Madison, either NBA or NIL?
Yeah, I mean, Justin had texted this too in our group chat. I don't even want to think about that because I really want Blackwell to be here longer. Look, what I always say about this is that when you have a guy like that at the end of the season, if he's being talked about to go to the NBA that means he had a really good season and we benefited from it. So I'm going to always take that. And obviously I'm happy for him. If he can go to the NBA, great. He deserves that. NIL would disappoint me much more. I mean, yes, let's just start a collection plate for John Blackwell. I'm down for that. I want him to stay. If he goes to the NBA, that's fine. If he goes to leaves for NIL, I would be upset about that. But ultimately, that means that he had a successful season. Let's just see where the chips fall at the end of the year. I really hope we don't lose him because he looks like such a special player that if he was here for a couple more years, holy cow, it'd be fun, man.
Mm-hmm. And Michael Wagner said, just enjoy it. I agree. And it's a good problem to have. To your point, this is what you want. You want players that are in demand either via the NBA or NIL. You can't lose. I'll just say this. You can't lose this guy to NIL the way you lost Chucky Hepburn. If he goes to the league, and I think from an athletic standpoint, that's not the easiest jump for a guy like John Blackwell, who is a good athlete. He's not an elite. He's not an NBA upper tier wing athlete. I'll say that. I think that's pretty fair. If you lose him to the league, though, that's great. That's good exposure for the program. That's a chip in Greg Gard's back pocket. Look at what I developed this 3-star guy, and look at what Greg Gard has done in development with these guys, right? That's a great selling piece for the program. If you lose him to NIL, it's not a great selling piece for the program. That's a bad look all around. And it kind of cements the idea that teams can come in and raid Wisconsin a little bit. And I know that happens everywhere, but back-to-back years, you're not going to want to lose a Chucky Hepburn and then lose a John Blackwell to other colleges. I'll just throw that out there.
Well, it's about taking a step as a program too. And we lost Storr, we lost Hepburn, but we brought in Tonje. We developed Blackwell. He took a big step. We want to take the step of we get to keep Blackwell for another year, and we still have Winter coming back. We lose Crowl, of course, but maybe we bring in someone else in the transfer portal, like a physical 5 potentially. Hint, Greg Gard. I mean, then all of a sudden you can see the ceiling being raised on this team, and that's what every Badger fan wants. You want to see constant growth. You want us to see us getting better and our potential slowly working its way back to what it was, in 2014, 2015. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a big thing to keep him, but it's a big thing for the program. You have to keep him and you can't lose him to another school because it shows growth in the program. And if we're going to develop into what we were and what all Badger fans want and what Greg Gard is here for to do that, then we've got to make that thing happen and build upon the success that this team had, not reinvent the whole wheel and hope that we can get enough talent out of the transfer portal to recreate what we had here. We need to build upon it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But every word, like it's a building block piece. Mitch James says could become like a Malcolm Brogdon. I think that is a pretty good comp actually for an NBA guy for Blackwell, that type of player. I want to throw this comment in here, and then we'll probably get going because again we're at 35 minutes. We never try to keep people too long. Jack Pollock. I don't even know why I said Jack Black. Jack Black is not in the chat as far as I know. Looking at store, good example. The grass isn't always greener. Maybe players are second guessing leaving. I actually wanted to throw this out there, and I'm just curious. And this could be a whole show, so we don't need to get too deep into it, I guess. I kind of wonder if Store's warts would have just become more and more pronounced. Like I'm not sure he's an NBA guy the longer he stays at Wisconsin. I think some of the issues were already starting to be seen, and he went and got $1 million from Kansas. I kind of feel like he actually made a good move in a way. Am I crazy in saying that? Like, yeah, he's not playing great now. He's not playing a ton now, but he got $1 million, and that's guaranteed money.
Yeah, I mean, he took the payday when he had the opportunity to, and yeah, like at the end of the day, it's obviously hindsight's 2020. I'm happy he's not on the team this year because I think that by getting Tonje and the development of Blackwell and how much more focus we have to put on those guys, which forces them to take a jump, I think it's way better for our team. 100%. Yeah. I think he did make a good move. He had issues here last year. We talked about him ad nauseum. There were many times that I certainly was very critical of Store last year, many times, and yeah, I mean, he got his payday. He's not going to go to the NBA like this. That's for sure. Like his production at Kansas is not good enough. You need to be a star at Kansas. You need to be one of the guys that excels at schools like that to be in the NBA, to be a surefire lottery pick, even a first or second round draft pick. So yeah, I think it is a good move for him. Get paid while you can. Hopefully he can make something out of it.
Dakota Day says, we'll be doing another Xavier Lucas video. I will be actually today or tomorrow, but I don't want to taint this video with that absolute.
There's a lot to get into. Yeah, that's for sure.
Absolute silliness. We're celebrating a road Big Ten win right now. So yes, though the answer to that's yes. I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, a bunch of comments we didn't get to, but really do appreciate everybody. Always good to end on a Bo Dragon positive comment. Blackwell is smart and an athlete. We don't get a lot of those. It's like a meteor that comes every 23 years. You got to like snatch it out of the sky when it comes by. On Wisconsin as always, Rajiv, Ryan, thank you guys so much. We always appreciate people tuning in and supporting the channel. It's amazing. When you're done here, go check out Locked On Big Ten, all the biggest stories on the Big Ten channel, covering the conference with college football playoffs, NIL, realignment, all that is over there on Wisconsin. And we will talk to you guys later.